Welcome to this introductory session of Maritime Industry Dispute Resolution and Arbitration. It's a 12-part series on signs to watch out in maritime disputes and arbitration based on the theme of dispute avoidance and managed resolution process. These sessions will be conducted by me. My brief particulars are on the screen. The more I can share with you later. First of all, let me give you a brief background. According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, annual trade statistics of 2020, 80% of the global trade is through sea. Second, according to Energy Information Administration, EIA, about 50% of global energy needs are met by oil and gas, out of which significant percentage, roughly around 30 to 40%, is produced from offshore fields, that means below the seabed. Furthermore, this percentage is unlikely to change, despite expansion of solar power, wind power, nuclear energy may increase in certain developed countries, but oil and gas from offshore will remain a significant contributor for human survival. Therefore, sea and maritime industry segments will remain an important and extensive part of human life. In fact, maritime is the only industry that does not have a single nationality, but a world of its own, which covers 2/3 of the planet Earth. So based on these three fundamental facts, what it implies that it will be natural to have disputes, a large number of disputes of international nature, which will involve often multi-party of different countries of origin. Historically, London was the hub for maritime trade, so courts of England were by default the forum for resolution of maritime disputes. The world has progressed. Laws have evolved with a degree of uniformity through stewardship of IMO and ratification of international maritime conventions. Under the stewardship of IMO. This has brought the expansion of dispute resolution forums away from London to more cost-effective venues. With increasing cost and competition between venues of dispute resolution, it is of paramount importance that the parties should draft applicable law and dispute resolution clauses carefully, with due diligence. With this background, to assist the parties from being exposed to some pitfalls and dangers of pre-printed default disputation clauses, the various management consultants have organized a 12-part series on signs to watch out. There are recommendations, related case studies, and applicable legal principles, which will be discussed during these sessions. Who must attend? It's designed and developed for ship owners, charterers, offshore field operations managers, commercial and marketing directors, corporate legal counsels, practicing maritime lawyers interested in offshore industries, fleet managers, superintendents, operation managers, masters, post-fixtures managers, investment analysts, and offshore credit risk managers of financial institutions. So managers from platform operators and organizations engaged in offshore E&P segments will be more suitable to attend these sessions because they are faced with too many uncertainties and too many parties in one venture. Without going into further details, let me give you a quick overview of all the 12 parts, what they're going to talk about. Each part is dedicated for one particular theme. Part 1, Anatomy of Default, Applicable Law and Dispute Resolution Clause. In this part, we will discuss the context of the parties and review whether there are any sub-charters. So just to give you a glimpse that each session or each part will be divided into time slots for subsections. In this case, we will discuss a default applicable law, which is normally not seen or not negotiated at the time of signing charter parties, but it becomes the first clause to be invoked when there is a dispute. So we'll go into the breakdown of some standard forms and some standard clauses and see what are the dangers and what are the benefits. In part 2, supposing you have a law and dispute resolution clause, which in short I call LDRC. So amending a LDRC after a dispute is erupted. Now you have seen there was a default clause, but there is a dispute and you need to amend it because that clause is not suitable. Why amend? Maybe the context is different, or there was a change in context, or default clause is dysfunctional, or there is a strategy for managing the non-cooperative party to make it more conducive to both the parties. If you don't amend it, what are the consequences? Maybe there is a non-participation by a party, maybe there will be challenges, or another party will go for a parallel litigation in multiple courts. What are the benefits of amending? Time and cost, one-stop solution, choice of forum, by consent between the parties. Both parties benefit by amending it. And that's the rationale behind it. So if you do not amend, what are the pitfalls without amending? How to manage when the other party do not agree or the parties do not agree? Manage arbitration in worst case scenario. How do we manage? We will discuss in part 2. In part 3, we look into the various stages or tiers in dispute resolution process. Dispute resolution process is a sequential or a parallel process, depending on the issues. The core issues can be divided into technical issues, commercial issues, performance issues, procedural issues. And approach should be to manage conflicting priorities or objectives, negotiations, and amicable settlement or mediation. If you are able to resolve these issues as and when they arise, you will find that you don't have to resort to litigation or arbitration, so no need to invoke litigation or arbitration clause. And how do we provide this in the contract or in a charter party? We will go through that in this part 3. In part 4, we'll deal with multiple clauses. Now what happens that in a charter party, it is not between just 2 parties or 3 parties. There are multiple parties: shipper, consignee, banks, financial institutions, lenders, ship owners, charterers, and sub-charterers, brokers, bills of lading. Are they all having the same dispute resolution clause, or is it back-to-back basis? On what basis? So sometimes we find that there are multiple clauses in one single dispute of a charter party or shipping, consignment, or offshore venture. How do we consolidate or try to get to one acceptable clause which can be used to commence arbitration or litigation? This is one of the important part to be attended. So please take note of this. In part 5, in context of the latest convention of 2018, United Nations Convention on Mediated Settlement, enforcement of International Mediation Settlement Agreements, Unsettled Mediation Convention 2018, or in short, it is called Singapore Convention because it was open for signatures in Singapore. How does it help in maritime industries disputes? We will go through those requirements, preconditions, because if the mediation agreement or a settlement agreement cannot be enforced by law, it's of no value. And in shipping community, when the parties are not known to each other very well, it's very difficult to go for mediation. But under the Singapore Mediation Convention, maritime industry has a lot to gain. But we need to understand how do we use it, how do we apply it. So please take note of this part 5 to be attended. Then coming to part 6, 7, 8, and 9. Very quickly, I will briefly highlight the key points. Forum shopping. Forum shopping is a term which originated from maritime industry. It used to be for courts litigation, but now it is becoming more popular for arbitration, seats of arbitration, venues, and multiple arbitrations or single arbitration. And during this, in part 7, we will talk about security for cost. When to apply for security for cost. These are tactical strategies or real need. When it is tactical, when it is real, and how do we ensure that the cost to be incurred will be recoverable in the end or not. So we'll discuss in part 7. In part 8, do we need to arrest a ship for security? In case the party has or the claimant has secured an order for security for cost, but there is no enforcement or no fulfillment of that order, the next part will be part 8 to resort to arresting a ship, or even for claims. You have to get an order to arrest a ship to secure your claims before the ship owner or the charterer or the party who has an interest in the ship decides to dissipate its assets. Part 9, we'll talk about consolidating multi-party disputes. This is very common occurrence in offshore industry where there are multiple vessels, Himalaya clause, charter parties are with different ventures. Similar to shipping consignments, multiple shippers, multiple consignees, ship owner, charterer, voyage charterer, sub-charterer, all have a dispute with a common cause. The root cause is common. How do we consolidate so that it's not productive for each party to spend money on litigation or arbitration for the same causes or same reasons? So we can consolidate into one arbitration. This is the beauty of arbitration. To do that in multi-countries, multi-parties from different nationalities in a court setting will be quite a challenge. Not impossible, but very difficult. Part 10. Now here we come to the crux of the matter. How much is going to cost? How much time it will take for finally resolving your dispute? What are the steps to be taken? Step by step, we'll go through every step. This will be like a project management exercise. Estimate time, cost, and deliverable of each steps. We need to plan, we need to come up with a project management chart or litigation project management or arbitration project management, or you can call it dispute resolution project management. At each step, we must get some deliverables. If you're not getting deliverables, we're incurring time and cost. It's the time to rethink your strategy. Are we getting near to resolving the dispute, or we are escalating the disputes in an unknown territory? This is the most important session, the part 10. Remember not to miss the session, even if you are familiar with the session 1 to 9, but session 10 is very, very critical. You don't want to win the case get an award in your favor or a judgment in your favor, and then at the end of the day, you find your time and cost incurred, including your management time, was much more than the value of the court order you received. So you need to start managing right from the beginning. Each activity, each deliverable must be monitored and controlled. Coming to part 11. After going through the 10 parts, now for future lessons learned, and through the case laws which we discussed during part 1 to part 10, we should be able to draft our future dispute resolution clause wisely. So that will be discussed in part 11. Part 12, what are the procedures, steps required to enforce your award? What happens if one party does not agree or does not honor the court order or the arbitral award? How do we enforce it? Different countries have different enforcement procedural requirements. We will discuss that in part 12. So in conclusion, 5 points. Remember, number 1, the 12 sessions are extensively researched and from practitioners' perspective to assist the parties. These are not the workshop sessions. These are consultative sessions. These are not just podcasts or seminars or chit chat. We will talk on each session very seriously in context of the case laws. So these are real time online, which will give us an opportunity to discuss one-to-one with each other. Number 2, you can submit your questions to be addressed in advance, which can be addressed during the session. Number 3, you can access this platform from anywhere in the world, from your mobile devices or from your computers, anywhere in the world. But remember, it is important, if you want to get the full benefit and see all the case studies, everything within a short session of 2 hours, you should be having a computer and an extra monitor, extra screen, so that I can share with you more documents. Number 4, the detailed instructions and study materials will be given to you in advance. Once you register, you will start receiving the study materials step by step, so that you're well prepared before you even come for the session. It will be question answer session, discussion session, and very little presentation. Number 5, you are encouraged to be interactive. Be interactive with the other participants so that we learn from each other's experiences. Life is too short to learn from your own mistakes. Let's learn from each other's mistakes. With that, if you have any questions, you can submit your questions during the event or before the event, and you can visit the website www.tiberiusmc.com and look for e-store. Or you can write to customerdesk.tmc@tiberiusmc.com or eventadmin@tiberiusmc.com. We share our experiences with you and we learn from your challenges. The presentation will be for 75 minutes and followed by 45 minutes for Q&A for workshops. And I hope you will find this introduction session, which I have just gone through with you, useful, and encourage you to sign up as soon as possible. The program at the moment is scheduled for every Thursday of the month, beginning from 7th January 2021 at 3 p.m. Singapore time. If you have any suggestions, please write to us. Thank you and God bless you. Bye-bye.